I want to go through these in a little bit more depth, but I'll give you 4 key engagement strategy elements. One is demonstrating the business case or the financial reason why they should change, as opposed to the moral issue, all right? Most of these people aren't immoral. In fact, what's interesting is the industry's evolved over the years where it used to be heavily male-dominated. Quite frankly, a lot of the people in marketing and brand management now, a majority are women, and they have kids, and they care about their kids. All right, so again, it's not that simple to just put them all in one basket. Secondly is compare them to their peers. All right, they're competitors, they're competitive. Show them how they're doing relative to their peers. Third is you have to know the power structure, and by that I mean there's different sides of the company, and oftentimes a public health appeal to a business goes to the staff side of the company. We'll talk about that momentarily. And finally, I'm a real believer in this. Catch them doing something right instead of 100% beating them on the head for what they're doing wrong. So we'll go through these one by one. Classic example of business case, and I'm sorry Barry had to leave because Barry was involved in this project, which was spearheaded by Robert Wood Johnson and UNC. We did a corollary study on the 16 multinational companies that are part of the Healthy Weight Commitment Foundation, and we found that over 5 years, virtually all the growth, 99% of the growth, was coming from lower calorie products. So what's my message to these companies now? It's like, guys, get with the program. If you don't do this, you don't grow. All right? Message received. The packaged goods companies, they got it. They're getting it. All right? Something else that came out of this study. Very high failure rates for new products. Over on the right side of the screen in blue, you see 11% success rate, or let's reverse it, an 89% failure rate for the higher calorie, whereas you had a higher stick rate. In other words, there were more lower calorie products still on the market after 5 years. So this is major news to them. What it says is that because they're spending so much money introducing new products that fail, 9 out of 10 of them fail, now you get down to 7.5 of them failing. It's still not a great rate, but it's certainly an improvement. So if you could look at certain products as being better for their business, all right, that's a plus for them. So they respond to this kind of data. Other ways to engage them or show them the business case are best practices. I think best practices are so critical. I mean, they get written up in publications like Harvard Business Review. That's a big deal when that happens to you. Also, success stories, pilots, especially when you get to the retailers and the restaurateurs. These are guys where they're very tactile. They're not strategic. We talk in concepts, this kind of a group, you know, highly intellectual group. These guys are like long-term planning's lunch, okay? That's the bottom line. It's lunch, okay? It's keeping the tables clean and the shelves stocked and making sure the warehouse has the order. All right, I have a great story on this. I gave a new product introduction, Canada Dries, flavored sparkling waters. This is like 25 years ago. And I go through this whole thing, consumers want it, market trends, and I'm done. First question, it's the sales guy. Hank, what's the package? What's the price? When can I have it? That's it. That's all he wanted. I just wasted 20 minutes. I just needed to go in and say, here it is, here's the price, go sell. All right, it's a different mentality. And that's why pilots are important. It's very show me. It's demonstrating what happened, not telling them what could. They don't deal in possibilities. They deal in what they can see, what's empirical. And then finally, track the progress. Have to track, and they respond to metrics. They respond to metrics. And this applies not only for food companies. This is for anything else you're looking to do, whether it's workplace wellness, on a multinational level, community programs, whatever. These are ways that they can get pulled in line. Secondly, compare them to their peers. Ways that have been done before. The J.D. Powers is a classic example of comparing automobile companies on initial quality. This has been highly effective for the automobile industry, and it's been great for 2 reasons. Number one, it's created competition to improve the quality of the cars, but also it's been a harbinger, it's been a signal to consumers as to where they ought to shop. So it creates, again, more competition. And then as an opportunity for what we're looking to do now, look at corporate social responsibility reports. They focus on sustainability, and then companies fill in the gaps on what they're doing for foods or healthier foods. We introduced X new great-for-you products last year, but there's no standards. And there's an opportunity to create some wellness standards for these companies. Again, it's quantitative. It would be measured every year. It's like this ongoing report card, which is so critical because they pay attention. And they're motivated. The key is the word motivating. They are motivated to change when they see these kinds of things. Now, the power structure is an interesting concept because the companies really have two sides. You have the revenue or growth side, line management is what they're called. And generally, this, the CEO, marketing people, salespeople, et cetera, the chief operating officer, versus, let's call it the cost side or staff, where you have human resources, corporate social responsibility, sometimes the corporate foundations tend to be on this side. So what happens is oftentimes the public health side interacts with this cost side as opposed to the people who hold the budgets. So if you want to go align, go with the people who have the budgets because they're the ones ultimately responsible for growth. When a day is done, they're responsible for growth. So it's a better way to consider going in when you have that opportunity. And finally, catch them doing something right. We were in a session with ICCR, the Interfaith Center on Corporate Responsibility, last December, and we had some back and forth. We had some advocates, even activist groups there and companies. And finally, someone from one of the major packaged goods companies said, we just want to be recognized when we do something constructive. And a classic example is what was done with this Healthy Weight Commitment Foundation project that Barry and his team worked on, where they exceeded their commitment to cut 1.5 trillion calories out of the marketplace, and they hit 6.4 trillion. And it was acknowledged. I mean, maybe I can say it differently. They just need to feel the love once in a while, okay? It's, you have to keep them on the hook and hold them accountable, but when they do something well, you have to acknowledge it. Otherwise, it's a one-sided debate, and there's no way you'll engage them. The other side, the flip side of that is when you find shortcomings, it's how you package it up, how you talk about it, how you frame it. Okay, let me give an example. So this is from the FTC work that was done on marketing dollars spent to kids. All right, so you can go, this is just the top 5 raw dollars that were spent and what percent of their marketing was spent to kids. So these are kind of absolute dollars. So again, from a public health perspective, you go, carbonated soft drinks are spending the most and cereals have the highest percent. But that's not motivated to a company. It's just a number hanging out there in left field. So what you do then is you overlay some thinking and says, wait a minute, what percent of my business is children? Okay, and then you do an index and say, restaurants really are the ones that are spending disproportionately the most against kids. That's what will motivate them to pay attention because you're showing them that they are overspending. That index always, the 0 point is where that index is 100. That means they're spending as they should. So the minute those indexes start going well above 100, now you have a basis. Now you have a legitimate reason to go in there and say, wait a minute, guys, you're really overspending against this segment. All right, they can respond to that as opposed to an absolute percent.